We're joined now by Rhea Wong, who is Executive Director of Breakthrough New York, a 16-year-old nonprofit that helps low-income, high-achieving kids from middle school to and through college by providing them with intensive academic assistance and much more. So Breakthrough New York helps low-income, high-achieving students. Rhea, could you explain to us, how do you select your students?
Hi, good morning. I'd be happy to. So what we do is we actually have partnerships with middle schools throughout the city, and we present directly to sixth grade students and explain that it's a 10-year commitment, and they have to give up 3 summers and get additional homework after school and so on. Most sixth graders are not particularly interested in that sort of commitment, but for the ones that are, it's an incredibly exciting opportunity. So this year we spoke to over 1,000 sixth grade students. We received about 250 applications, and these are pretty long applications. Of the 250, we invited about 180 for one-on-one interviews.
And who are the typical Breakthrough New York students?
It's a good question. So, like you mentioned, they have to demonstrate that they are both low income. So that's roughly on average about $10,000 per family member per year. So the average family income is a little under $40,000 for a family of 4. And these are also kids who have demonstrated high academic achievement. So kids who are receiving at least an 85 or above in their core classes, that have demonstrated proficiency at a 3 or above in the statewide tests, and also demonstrate leadership. So we ask their teachers to recommend them and give us a sense of who they are as people. Are they leaders? Are they good community members? And are they kids who are self-motivated?
Rhea, why start as early as middle school for your program?
That is a great question. You know, we're often asked sort of why middle school, and I think everyone has their own take on the issue, whether it's, well, maybe, why don't you guys start earlier, or why aren't you starting with high school kids? We feel very strongly that middle school is our sweet spot, both in terms of our core competency. We've been working with middle school kids for 16 years, and we think we think that they're a particularly interesting group of people. It's a time where kids are working through their own identity. They are starting to make their own choices, trying on lots of different personalities, and so we think it's a particularly interesting time just in the general development of a person, but also because of the way that the high school placement system works in New York, we think that it's a critical leverage point for us to try to get our kids into what we would consider to be college preparatory high schools, whether that's public, private, or parochial. And what we know is that the best shot a kid has to get into a four-year college is that they're coming out of a competitive college preparatory high school.
We're talking with Rhea Wong, who is Executive Director of Breakthrough New York. This is City Watch and WBAI New York, 99.5 FM. So, Rhea, you yourself are a graduate of the Breakthrough program. How did that program impact you?
It changed my life. I mean, I don't know really how else to describe it. So I was very much sort of the common Breakthrough story. I was in a public middle school, which was not particularly high achieving. And, you know, frankly, I was really bored in school because I think in schools it's very difficult to focus efforts on the higher achieving kids, which is why we do. And, you know, I was a good, nice, smart kid. I didn't create a lot of problems. I did my work in class, but I wasn't particularly challenged. And often, too, I felt a little alienated because kids around me would make fun of me because I really like to learn, and they called me a nerd. And so when I came to Breakthrough, I sort of found my people, so to speak, my tribe. And I was surrounded by kids who were like me, who liked to learn, who were high achieving and highly motivated. And as a result of the program, I ended up going to a boarding school, which, you know, nobody in my family had ever done. We're a public school family, and my parents thought, you know, boarding school, that's for rich kids, like that, you know. And as a result, I think my entire life took a completely different trajectory. I was exposed to a whole world of options and possibilities I never knew existed for kids like me. And, as a result, after graduating from college, I really felt compelled to give back to the organization. As a result, I've been ED now for 10 years, and I've sent hundreds of kids to college at this point, which has been incredibly gratifying.
Now, you talked about you identifying these children, students in middle school. At the point that they come in, what are the type of the services that you provide through Breakthrough New York that help them develop?
So we actually provide 10 years of services. And so when they enter, it's the summer after 6th grade, so the rising 7th grade summer. And we do intensive academic work with them over a 6-week period during the summer. So we literally start the day after public school ends. So this year they'll get the weekend to to relax a little bit before they get back to work. And it's a full day, 5-day-a-week program, intensively academic, but we also have fun. So we offer electives in the afternoon, because we also recognize that in a lot of public schools there are really limited resources to offer classes like art and dance and music and basketball. So we recognize it is the summertime, and so we do that as well. And then part of our program as well is focused on using New York City as a classroom. So, for example, we'll take them on career day visits. We'll take them out on various field trips, because the other thing that we know is that even though our kids are living in New York City, a lot of them have never left their neighborhood. A lot of them have never met kids who are not of their community. And I think that is an astonishing thing. When I first moved to New York, I'm actually from San Francisco originally, and I just thought, such a diverse city, and of course, all of the kids would know different types of kids, but it was very surprising to me that you could be, Dominican kids living in Harlem and have never met a Chinese kid living in Chinatown. So we're focused on academics as well as community building. Then in the school year, they do after-school programs, and once we then also spend about 250 hours per kid on high school placement, because we recognize the importance of getting into the right high school. And once they're in high school, we then switch to a less intensive model. It's a monthly workshop model, and it's focused on what the kids will see in that year. So, for example, freshman year is all about making the transition to high school, making sure you're academically sound. Sophomore year is about internships, career readiness, and financial literacy. And then junior and senior years are all about college. So we take our kids on college trips. We offer free SAT preparation, college guidance, financial aid workshops, and so on, with the knowledge that most of our kids are attending schools where their guidance counselors or college counselors are just not actually able to provide them the one-on-one support that they would need.
Oh, well, that sounds like a pretty amazing 10-year program. You just finished your latest application period, I believe. How did you do?
We did well. So we're actually opening our third site in the South Bronx in June. And so as part of that, we really expanded our recruitment in the South Bronx. A lot of new middle schools for us. Like I said, we received about 260 applications this year. So we are making headway in terms of getting our foot in the door in the South Bronx. We actually just had an admissions day on Saturday, and actually we'll have another admissions day next Saturday. And so part of the admissions process for us is that we do one-on-one interviews with kids and their families separately, which you could imagine as an 11-year-old is a pretty daunting prospect to have a 2-on-1 interview with adults you've never met before. So we're excited to get our newest class of kids, and they will be the class of 2025, which is, if you can think about it, it's actually pretty astonishing. So 2025 will be the year that they will graduate from college.
How do you measure success in the program? Is it just by the number of children that go on to college, or what are some of the criteria you evaluate?
Yeah, so we have a couple of we want to call benchmark metrics that we use in order to determine whether we're on track. So the first would be how many of our kids attend college preparatory high schools. And I want to talk about this point a little bit because, we've really determined that of the 450 public high schools in New York, there are only a very small handful that we would consider to be college preparatory. And we define college preparatory in terms of a set of internal metrics that we've determined, such as availability of AP or IB classes, some evidence of history of placement in four-year colleges, the existence of a college guidance officer. And, sadly, there are very few schools that actually meet the criteria. So to go back to the original question, we look at the percentage of kids that we place in college prep high schools. We look at the percentage of kids who go on to four-year college. And then recently we launched our college success program, so we'll also be looking at the metrics of how many of our kids graduate college within a 4 to 6 year window. And of course, along the way, we have smaller metrics that indicate whether we're on track, such as, our kids are maintaining a certain GPA, they're maintaining a certain attendance level in our program. We look at standardized test scores. We look at whether or not they're involved in leadership activities at their schools. We look at whether they're good, positive citizens, whether they're taking place in, internships and so on. So a number of different metrics, but they roll up to sort of the big three is what I would call them.
So there's nothing sadder than watching a student who is really smart, comes from a poor family, who fails. And it sounds like your program that you've developed really should help those people. Your program is just funded at a certain level, though, and you've expanded from what we've been told. And you could talk about the real need in New York City for these types of programs. And how do you go about expanding to really touch as many students as possible?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the fact of the matter is that we are only really able to serve I wouldn't even characterize it as a drop in the incredible ocean that is the New York City public school system. So there are 1.1 million kids enrolled in the DOE, and this year we'll serve 275 of them, and that's throughout the course of the actual 10-year program. So obviously there's a huge need that exists, and what I would say about that is there are a lot of programs for a lot of different types of kids, but I would say that, in my estimation, that focusing on the high-achieving, low-income kids is a sort of the low-hanging fruit. With a little bit of intervention and a little bit of support, those kids could really be the top performers. They could be the college graduates. And when I think about, Obama's push to increase college graduates nationwide, it just seems to me that you should really focus more resources on those kids who really can make it and really can graduate. So this past year, like I mentioned, we are in the process of opening our third site in the South Bronx. We're completely privately funded. So this year we're raising $1.8 million. Next year we'll probably be raising about $2.3 million in order to expand our program. It's a fairly modest cost in comparison to the outcomes that we achieve. And I would just say that, the more we can raise, the more kids we can serve overall.
I think we have time for just one last question. How do people, find out more about your program, particularly they have children that might want to participate?
Absolutely. All of the information is available on our website. It's www.btny.org.
Well, we were joined by Ria Wong from Breakthrough New York. We thank you for joining us today here at WBAI City Watch Show. You've been listening to the City Watch Show with co-host Mark Dunley, Betkoff Pham, and myself, Larry Schimmel. I want to thank Sean Rose.